The Great Hall of the Galactic Council was built to make visitors feel small. Its ceiling stretched so high that clouds sometimes formed near the top. The walls were made of crystal that showed the light of 1,000 different suns. Alien beings from across the galaxy sat in seats that floated in the air, each one designed for their particular species. Dae-ho Kim stood in the center of it all, wearing a simple black suit that looked plain compared to the colorful robes and armor of the other delegates. He was not a tall man, and his gray hair was cut short. His face showed no emotion as he looked up at the floating seats around him. The chief speaker was a creature that looked like a giant jellyfish made of silver light. Its voice came from speakers built into the walls, making it sound like thunder. "Ambassador Kim of Earth," it said, "you have been called here to receive the final decision of the Galactic Council." Dae-ho nodded once. He did not speak. The creature that represented the Vrex Empire rose from its floating seat. It was tall and covered in red scales, with 4 arms and yellow eyes that glowed in the dim light. When it spoke, its voice was like metal scraping against metal. "Human," it said, "your species has become a problem." Around the hall, other aliens nodded their agreement. Some made clicking sounds with their tongues. Others flashed lights from their skin. All of these were signs of approval in their different cultures. "For 20 years, the Vrex continued, your kind has spread across space like a disease. You take worlds that do not belong to you. You build weapons without asking permission. You ignore the laws that keep peace in the galaxy." Dae-ho still said nothing. His hands were folded behind his back and he looked straight ahead. A being that looked like a walking tree spoke next. Its voice was soft like wind through leaves. "We have tried to be patient with humanity," it said. "We have offered friendship. We have invited you to join our councils. But you continue to act as if you are alone in the universe." More sounds of agreement filled the hall. A creature made of living rock slammed its fist against its seat, making a sound like thunder. A being that was all tentacles and eyes flashed angry colors across its skin. The chief speaker raised one of its glowing arms for silence. "The council has made its decision," it announced. "Humanity will stop all expansion into space. You will give up the colonies you have built in the last 10 years. You will allow council inspectors to watch over all human military activities. You will do these things or face the consequences." The hall became very quiet. Every eye, every sensor, every alien sense organ focused on the small human in the center of the room. This was the moment when negotiations would begin. This was when the human would ask for time to think, or offer something in return or beg for mercy. Instead, Dae-ho Kim spoke 3 words: "We refuse everything." The silence that followed was so complete that the air recycling system seemed loud. No one moved. No one made a sound. Even the lights seemed to dim. The Vrex delegate was the first to recover. "You refuse?" it asked, as if it had not heard correctly. "Yes," Dae-ho said simply. "But you must negotiate," the tree being said, its branches shaking with emotion. "This is how things are done. You cannot simply refuse." Dae-ho turned to look at the creature. His face was calm, like a man discussing the weather. "We can and we do." The chief speaker's light grew brighter. "Ambassador Kim, perhaps you do not understand the situation. The combined fleets of the council represent thousands of worlds, trillions of beings. You cannot stand against such power." "We are not standing against anything," Dae-ho replied. "We are simply declining your demands." A small alien that looked like a purple cat stood up in its floating seat. "But what are your counter-demands?" it asked in a high, squeaky voice. "What do you want in return? How can we make a deal?" Dae-ho shook his head slowly. "There will be no deal. There will be no negotiations. Earth's position is final." The hall erupted in chaos. Aliens shouted in languages that sounded like music or grinding rocks or breaking glass. Lights flashed. Tentacles waved. The creature made of rock stood up so fast that its seat nearly tipped over. "This is madness," the Vrex delegate roared over the noise. "No species has ever refused to negotiate with the council. It is not done." When the noise finally died down, Dae-ho was still standing calmly in the center of the room. He looked around at all the angry faces and glowing eyes. "If there is nothing else," he said, "I will return to my ship." The chief speaker's voice was cold now. "Ambassador Kim, you are making a terrible mistake. Humanity is young and small. We are old and vast. Think carefully about what you are doing." Dae-ho smiled for the first time since entering the hall. It was not a happy smile. We have thought about it for a very long time, he said. Good day. He turned and walked toward the exit. His footsteps echoed in the great hall as hundreds of aliens watched him go. No one tried to stop him. They were too shocked to move. As Deho reached the door, the Vrex delegate called out one last time. Human, when your worlds burn, remember that we offered you peace. Deho stopped and looked back over his shoulder. When your fleets are gone, he said quietly, remember that you chose war. Then he was through the door and walking down the long corridor that led to the docking bays. His ship was small compared to the massive vessels of the other council members. It looked like a simple cargo hauler, painted white with blue markings. Inside the ship, his communication officer was waiting. Her name was Hyejin Park, and she had been listening to everything through a hidden transmitter in Deho's suit. Did they really think we would just give up? She asked as the ship lifted off from the station. Deho sat down in his captain's chair and activated the ship's faster-than-light communication system. They think we are like them, he said. They think we make decisions based on fear. Should I send the message to Earth? Hyejin asked. Send it to everyone, Deho replied. Earth, the colonies, the fleet. Use the code word. Hyejin's fingers moved across her control panel. Across human space, communication arrays received a simple message. Thunder. It was a word that had been chosen years ago. A word that meant the talking was over. On Earth, President Eugene Lee was in a meeting when the message arrived. She was a small woman with bright eyes and gray hair pulled back in a simple style. When her aide whispered the code word in her ear, she nodded once and stood up. Ladies and gentlemen, she announced to the people in the room, I need to address the world. Please prepare the broadcast systems. An hour later, every human in the galaxy was watching as their president spoke from the same office where leaders had announced wars and peace for hundreds of years. My fellow humans, she began, today we were given a choice. Bow down or stand up, give up our freedom or fight for it, accept chains or break them. She paused and looked directly into the camera. We choose to stand. We choose to fight. We choose freedom. The galaxy will learn what that means. In space above Earth, Admiral Taman Park received the broadcast on his flagship. The ship was called Soul's Pride, and it was much larger than it appeared. Like all human vessels, it had been designed to look simple and harmless from the outside. Begin Phase 1, the Admiral commanded. Across the solar system, seemingly empty space began to shimmer as hidden defense platforms uncloaked themselves. Asteroids that had looked natural for decades opened up to reveal massive weapons. Space stations that appeared to be simple research facilities transformed into military strongholds. The Galactic Council had made one very big mistake. They thought that because humans were new to space, they were weak. They thought that because humans asked for peace, they could not fight. They were about to learn how wrong they were. 3 weeks had passed since Deho Kim walked out of the Galactic Council chambers. 3 weeks of complete silence from humanity. The aliens had sent thousands of messages to Earth and the human colonies. They had used every communication method known to galactic civilization. Radio waves, quantum entanglement signals, even old-fashioned light beams. The humans received every single message, but they did not reply to any of them. Captain Sun-Hee Choi stood on the bridge of her ship, the Busan Dawn. It was officially listed as an exploration vessel, designed to find new worlds for human settlement. The ship looked peaceful enough from the outside. White hull with blue stripes, no visible weapons, solar panels that gleamed in the light of nearby stars. Captain, her navigation officer called out, we're approaching the Kepler system. The Vrex blockade is right where intelligence said it would be. Sun-Hee nodded. The Vrex had positioned 12 of their warships in a line across the system's main shipping route. Each ship was the size of a small city, covered in red armor and bristling with weapons that could crack a planet in half. They were there to stop any human ship that tried to pass through. Any change in our orders? Asked her weapons officer, a young man named Do-Hyun Lee. No change, Sun-Hee replied. We continue on our planned route. We ignore them completely. The crew exchanged glances. Ignoring a Vrex blockade was either very brave or very stupid. Most species in the galaxy would consider it suicide. But Captain, the communications officer said nervously, they're already sending us messages. They're demanding that we stop and prepare to be boarded. Sun-Hee walked to her command chair and sat down. Delete all messages from non-human sources, she ordered. We don't talk to strangers. The Busan Dawn continued on its course, heading straight for the center of the Vrex formation. On the screens, the alien warships grew larger and larger. Warning lights began flashing on Vrex bridges as they realized the human ship was not slowing down. "Human vessel," came a voice over the radio, speaking in the harsh language of the Vrex Empire. "You will stop immediately or face destruction." Sun Hee looked at her communications officer. "Did someone say something? I thought I heard noise, but it might have been static." "Must have been static." "Captain," the officer replied with a small smile. The lead Vrex warship moved directly into the path of the Busan Dawn. It was like a mountain trying to block a river. The alien ship was 50 times larger than the human vessel, its hull glowing with the heat of charging weapons. "They're powering up their main guns," Do Hyun reported. "Should I raise shields? Are we expecting trouble from someone?" Sun Hee asked innocently. "I don't see any threats on our sensors." The crew began to understand. Their sensors were programmed to only recognize human ships and natural objects like asteroids or comets. As far as their instruments were concerned, the Vrex fleet did not exist. The Busan Dawn flew directly through the center of the Vrex formation, passing so close to the flagship that the two ships could have touched. The human vessel did not slow down, did not change course, did not even acknowledge that the aliens were there. On the Vrex flagship, Commander Thaklon stared at his screens in confusion. "Why did they not respond to our hails?" he demanded of his crew. "Perhaps their communication systems are damaged?" suggested one of his officers. "Then why did they not slow down when we moved into their path?" Thaklon asked. "They flew past us as if we were empty space." The truth was beginning to dawn on the alien commander, but he could not quite believe it. No species had ever simply ignored the mighty Vrex Empire. It was unthinkable. "Should we fire on them, sir?" asked his weapons officer. Thaklon hesitated. Destroying a single human ship would be easy, but it would also mean starting a war. The Council had not yet decided on military action. They were still hoping that humanity would come to its senses and negotiate. "Let them go," he said finally, "but record everything. The Council needs to see this." Meanwhile, across human space, other ships were carrying out similar missions. The cargo vessel Daegu Merchant flew past a Kathani patrol fleet as if it were not there. The research ship Gwangju Explorer sailed through the middle of a Mordowian scientific expedition without even slowing down to say hello. The aliens were becoming more and more frustrated. They sent messages to human ships offering friendship, trade agreements, even apologies for the ultimatum. Nothing worked. The humans acted as if the rest of the galaxy had simply vanished. In the commercial district of Nexus Prime, the galaxy's largest trading station, Merchant Hyon Woo Nam was closing down his shop. He had been selling human-made electronics to alien customers for 15 years, but now he was packing everything into boxes. A Veltar trader with purple skin and 4 arms approached his counter. "Hyun Woo," the alien said in broken human language, "why you close shop? We have been friends long time." Hyun Woo looked up from his packing. For a moment he seemed to see the alien standing there. Then his eyes went blank as if he was looking through empty air. He went back to his packing without saying a word. "Hyun Woo," the Veltar said louder. "I speak to you. Why you not answer?" But Hyun Woo had activated the silent protocol. As far as he was concerned, the alien was not there. Could not be there. Only humans existed now. The same scene was playing out all across the galaxy. Human traders were closing their shops, packing their goods, and leaving alien markets. They would only do business with other humans now, or with the few species that had never supported the ultimatum. The economic impact was immediate and devastating. Many alien civilizations had become dependent on human technology over the past 20 years. Human medical equipment kept millions of aliens alive. Human computers ran the systems that managed entire worlds. Human food synthesizers prevented famine on dozens of planets. Now all of that was being cut off. Not with anger or threats, but with cold, complete indifference. Dr. So Young Kang tried to change things. She had been born on Earth but had chosen to live among the aliens. Studying their cultures and languages, she was respected by both humans and aliens. Or at least she had been. She sent a message to the human embassy on Nexus Prime, asking for a meeting with Ambassador Kim. The reply came back within an hour. Person unknown. No meeting scheduled. So Young felt her heart sink. She tried calling her old university on Earth, where she had studied before leaving for alien space. The automated system answered her call, but when she gave her name, the line went dead. She tried her brother, who worked for the human colonial government. The same thing happened. According to Earth's records, So Young Kang no longer existed. She had made her choice to stand with the aliens, and now she was cut off completely from her own species. In desperation, she tried to book passage on a human ship back to Earth. But when she approached the ticket office, the human clerk looked right through her as if she was not there. "Excuse me," she said in Korean. "I need to buy a ticket to Earth." The clerk continued reading his computer screen. As far as he was concerned, no one had spoken. So Young tried waving her hand in front of his face. She shouted. She even tried to grab his arm. But the man had been trained well. He could not see her, could not hear her, could not feel her touch. She simply did not exist. Back on Earth, President Eugene Lee was in a meeting with her military advisors. The room was deep underground, protected by layers of armor and defensive systems that the aliens knew nothing about. "How are they responding to the silent protocol?" she asked Admiral Tae-min Park. "Exactly as we predicted," the Admiral replied. "Confusion first, then anger, now panic. Several smaller species are experiencing supply shortages. The Cathani have lost 30% of their medical equipment. The Veltar food distribution system is failing. And the larger empires? Growing more desperate by the day. The Rex are moving more ships into human space, but they haven't fired on anyone yet. They're still hoping we'll start talking again." President Lee nodded. "Phase 2 is working perfectly. How long before they reach the breaking point?" "Intelligence estimates another week," said General Dong Hyun Kwan. "Maybe less. When beings start dying because they can't get human medical supplies, the pressure on their governments will become unbearable." The president looked at the reports on her desk. Every day brought new evidence that the silent protocol was working better than they had hoped. The aliens had never realized how much they depended on humanity until it was taken away. "Ma'am," said Admiral Park, "there's something else. We've intercepted communications between the Virax and several other species. They're talking about military action." "Let them talk," President Lee replied. "They think they know what human ships can do because they've seen our cargo vessels and research ships. They have no idea what our real military looks like." She stood up and walked to a wall screen that showed the positions of human ships across the galaxy. To alien observers, the ships looked scattered and vulnerable, like sheep waiting to be herded. "They think we're weak because we prefer peace," she said. "They think we're helpless because we tried to be friends. They're about to learn the difference between choosing not to fight and being unable to fight." In the outer rim of human space, Captain Mi Young-seo was watching her sensors as alien ships began gathering near the border. Commander Thaklon of the Virax Empire had reached the end of his patience. For 3 weeks, his fleet had been ignored by human ships as if they were nothing more than space dust. The mighty Virax Empire, feared across half the galaxy, treated like they did not exist. "This ends today," he growled to his bridge crew as his flagship approached the Helix Nebula. "The humans will learn respect." His target was a human mining operation deep in the nebula's colorful gas clouds. Intelligence reports said it was defended by only a few security ships, probably converted cargo vessels with basic weapons. It would be an easy victory that would show the galaxy that humanity could be defeated. Thaklon commanded a fleet of 37 warships, each one capable of destroying a small moon. The humans had maybe a dozen ships in the entire system. It should have been like crushing an insect with a hammer. "Sir," his sensor operator called out, "we're detecting the human mining station. It's exactly where intelligence said it would be." "And their defensive fleet? 12 ships, all appearing to be converted civilian vessels. They're not even moving to intercept us." Thaklon smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. "Because they know they cannot win." "Prepare for attack. We will give them one chance to surrender. Then we will show the galaxy what happens to species that ignore the Virax Empire." But something was wrong. As his fleet moved deeper into the nebula, Thaklon's sensors began picking up strange readings. The human mining station was much larger than it should have been, and there were energy signatures hidden throughout the asteroid field that did not match any known human technology. "Sir," the sensor operator said nervously, "I'm reading massive power sources inside several asteroids." "And the mining station?" "It's not just a mining station." Before Thaklon could ask what that meant, the human fleet finally began to move. But they were not running away as he had expected. Instead, They were spreading out into a formation that looked almost ceremonial. Commander Jae-sung-oh stood on the bridge of what the aliens thought was a converted cargo ship. In reality, the Soul Hammer was one of the most advanced warships humanity had ever built. Its hull was designed to look old and patched, its weapons hidden inside cargo containers, its true nature concealed behind decades of careful deception. "Sir," his tactical officer reported, "the Vrex fleet is moving into the trap zone. All disguised platforms are ready. Hidden ships are in position." Jae-sung nodded. He was a tall man with quiet eyes and gray hair, someone who looked more like a teacher than a military commander. But he had been planning for this moment for 20 years. "Open a channel to the Vrex flagship," he ordered. "Channel open, sir." Jae-sung looked directly into the camera. When he spoke, his voice was calm and polite. "Attention, Vrex vessels. You are trespassing in human space. Please turn around and leave immediately." On the Vrex flagship, Thaklon laughed. "Human," he said, "you are outnumbered 3-1. Surrender now and we will make your deaths quick." "I don't think you understand," Jae-sung replied. "This is your only warning. Leave now." "You dare threaten the Vrex Empire?" Thaklon roared. "We will crush you like the insects you are." "All ships, open fire!" The Vrex fleet erupted in flames and energy as dozens of massive weapons fired at once. Space itself seemed to burn as the aliens unleashed enough firepower to shatter a continent. But the human ships were no longer where they had been a moment before. Moving faster than anything the Vrex had ever seen, they scattered like leaves in a storm. Their true speed and agility finally revealed. And then the asteroids began to move. What Thaklon had thought were natural rocks floating in space were actually hidden weapons platforms, disguised so perfectly that even close-range sensors had been fooled. Dozens of them uncloaked at once, revealing massive guns that had been built inside hollowed-out asteroids over the past 15 years. "Impossible," Thaklon whispered, as his sensors showed him the truth. The mining operation was actually a military fortress that could have fought off 10 times his fleet. The converted cargo ships were cutting-edge warships that moved like fighters despite their size. The entire system was one giant trap. The battle, if it could be called that, lasted 14 minutes. The humans fought with a precision that seemed impossible. Every shot hit its target. Every movement was perfectly timed. They had studied Vrex tactics for decades, learning every weakness, every blind spot, every flaw in their combat doctrine. Thaklon's flagship shuddered as human weapons tore through its armor like paper. Around him, his bridge crew worked frantically to coordinate their fleet's response, but there was no response that could work. The humans had prepared for this exact scenario. "Sir," his communications officer shouted over the alarms. "The destroyer squadron is gone. The heavy cruiser wing is taking massive damage. Our formation is collapsing." Thaklon watched his fleet die with a growing sense of horror. This was not how it was supposed to happen. The humans were supposed to be weak, desperate, easily defeated. Instead, they were destroying his ships with almost casual efficiency. "How?" he demanded. "How are they doing this?" His answer came from Commander Jae-sung's calm voice over the radio. "We have been watching you for 20 years, the human said. "Every battle you have fought, every tactic you have used, every weakness you have shown. We know you better than you know yourselves." A human ship appeared directly above the Vrex flagship, moving so fast that the alien sensors had not detected its approach. It was smaller than Thaklon's vessel, but when it fired, the entire flagship shook like a leaf in a hurricane. "This is impossible," Thaklon screamed. "No species advances this quickly. You were primitive when we first met you." "We were never primitive," came the reply. "We were careful." The last thing Thaklon saw was a human torpedo heading straight for his bridge. The weapon was not designed to destroy. It was designed to capture information. In the microseconds before impact, it downloaded the entire contents of the flagship's computer systems, stealing every piece of intelligence the Vrex had gathered about human space. When the battle was over, space around the Helix Nebula was filled with debris from 37 Vrex warships. Not a single human vessel had been destroyed. 3 had suffered minor damage that was already being repaired by automated systems. Commander Jae-sung stood in the middle of the battlefield, looking at the wreckage of what had once been the pride of the Vrex Empire. His communications officer approached him with a report. "Sir, we've downloaded all data from the alien ships. Intelligence estimates we've gained enough information to map their entire command structure." "Any survivors?" Jae-sung asked. "No, sir. As per standing orders, no prisoners were taken. No ship was allowed to escape. Jae-sung nodded. It was harsh but necessary. The galaxy needed to understand that there would be consequences for threatening humanity. Deploy the message beacon and prepare for departure, he ordered. Our work here is done. A small probe detached itself from the soul hammer and began broadcasting a simple message in every known galactic language. Earth does not negotiate with terrorists. The message would repeat for the next 100 years. A permanent reminder of what happened when someone decided to test human resolve. On Nexus Prime, Dr. Wonbin Lim was staring at reports from the Helix Nebula with growing horror. As the Galactic Council's chief strategist, he had access to intelligence from across known space. What he was seeing made no sense. This cannot be accurate, he said to his assistant, a young Cathani named Veltar. The reports say that 37 Virex warships were destroyed by 12 human vessels. I have confirmed the data 3 times, his assistant replied. Multiple sources all saying the same thing. The human fleet suffered no losses. Wonbin Lim had been studying military tactics for over a century. He had analyzed thousands of battles from across galactic history. What had happened at Helix Nebula was not just a victory, it was a masterpiece of strategic planning. They knew, he said suddenly. The humans knew this would happen. They prepared for it, sir. Don't you see? Wonbin Lim stood up and began pacing around his office. The mining station was not a mining station. Those cargo ships were not cargo ships. The entire system was designed to look weak while actually being incredibly strong. He pulled up a holographic display showing human space. Red dots marked human colonies. Blue dots showed their trading posts, green dots indicated their exploration vessels. For 20 years, the galaxy had watched humanity spread across the stars, thinking they understood what they were seeing. We were wrong about everything, Wonbin Lim whispered. Every human colony, every trading post, every exploration ship, they were all part of a military plan. They have been preparing for war while we thought they were seeking peace. His assistant's skin changed color, a sign of fear in Kithani culture. What do we do? Wonbin Lim looked at the display for a long moment. We pray, he said finally. We pray that we can find a way to make peace before they decide to stop being patient with us. Across the galaxy, news of the Helix Nebula battle spread like wildfire. The Vrex Empire, one of the most powerful military forces in known space, had been completely destroyed by a small human fleet. It was impossible, unthinkable, terrifying, and the humans had not even tried to negotiate. They had simply eliminated the threat and moved on. For the first time in galactic history, the news from Helix Nebula reached every corner of the galaxy within hours. 37 Vrex warships destroyed. No human losses. No survivors. The message was clear and terrible. Humanity was not the weak, peaceful species everyone had believed them to be. On the world of Cathera, Prime Minister Velnara was having the worst day of her political career. Her species, the Cathani, were known throughout the galaxy for their wisdom and careful planning. But right now she felt like the biggest fool in the universe. How many of our people will die? She asked her medical advisor, Dr. Helmora. The doctor's blue skin had turned pale with worry. Without human medical equipment, we will lose approximately 30,000 citizens in the first month. After that, he did not finish the sentence. Velnara closed her eyes. The Cathani had supported the ultimatum to humanity because they believed in galactic law and order. They had thought the humans would negotiate, compromise, find a peaceful solution. Instead, the humans had simply cut them off completely. Ma'am, her communications minister said quietly, there are riots in the capital. The people are angry that we supported the ultimatum. They know that our hospitals are failing because we cannot get human medical supplies. Have we received any response to our apology messages? Velnara asked. No, ma'am. The humans are still following what they call the silent protocol. They will not communicate with any species that supported the Council's ultimatum. Velnara felt her heart sink even further. What about the other species? Are any of them having success reaching humanity? Only 3 species are still able to trade with humans, the minister replied. The Zephyrians, the Christek, and the small colony worlds of the Outer Rim. Everyone else has been cut off completely. On the trading world of Mordanis, engineer Boram Shin was trying to save his career and possibly his life. He had worked with alien scientists for 15 years, helping them understand human technology. Now his former colleagues were begging him to contact Earth and ask for mercy. Please, Boram, said Dr. Thelamus. a Morduan scientist whose purple tentacles were trembling with fear. You know people in the human government. You can speak to them for us, Boram shook his head sadly. I already tried. They won't take my calls. As far as Earth is concerned, I'm a traitor who chose aliens over humanity. But you were just doing your job. You were promoting friendship between our species. That was before the ultimatum, Boram replied. Now there are only two kinds of people in the galaxy, humans and everyone else. I chose to live among aliens, so I'm not human anymore. The truth was even worse than Boram was admitting. He had tried to contact his sister, who worked for the human colonial government. The automated system had answered, but when he gave his name, the line had gone dead. According to Earth's records, Boram Shin no longer existed. Meanwhile, on dozens of alien worlds, governments were falling. The people had learned that their leaders had picked a fight with the one species that had always honored its agreements and asked for nothing but to be left alone. The results were predictable and devastating. General Dong Hyun Kwan was watching the reports from his command center deep beneath the mountains of Earth. Each piece of news was better than the last. From humanity's perspective, the Kethani government collapsed 3 hours ago, reported his intelligence officer, Major Yujin Song. The new leadership is demanding an immediate peace treaty with Earth and the Morduan Empire. Civil war. Half their population wants to overthrow the council members who supported the ultimatum. The other half wants to join the Vrex in a military assault on human space. General Kwan nodded with satisfaction. What about the smaller species? Panic, complete panic. 17 different governments have fallen in the past week. Most of the new leaders are promising to make peace with humanity, but they can't figure out how to contact us. The general walked to a large display screen that showed the current political situation across the galaxy. Red zones indicated species still hostile to humanity. Yellow zones showed neutral or undecided species. Green zones marked the few species that had never supported the ultimatum and could still trade with human colonies. Look at this, he said to his staff. 3 weeks ago, most of the galaxy was red or yellow. Now look, the map had changed dramatically. Most of the red zones had turned yellow as governments fell and new leaders took power. Several yellow zones had turned green as species desperately tried to prove their friendship with humanity. Sir, Major Song reported, we're receiving urgent communications from 47 different species. They all want to negotiate peace treaties, trade agreements, anything that will get them back in humanity's good graces. Are we responding to any of them? No, sir. The silent protocol remains in effect. We're only talking to the 3 species that never supported the ultimatum. General Kwan smiled. It was exactly what they had hoped for. The galaxy was tearing itself apart trying to figure out how to apologize to humanity. Meanwhile, humans continued their normal activities, completely ignoring the chaos around them. But not everyone in the galaxy was panicking. In the heart of Rex space, Supreme Commander Kralthox was planning revenge. The destruction of Thakkalon's fleet had not made him afraid. It had made him angry. How many ships can we gather? He demanded of his fleet commanders. Approximately 800 warships, replied Admiral Vextar. If we call in ships from every system, we could have over 1,000. Do it. I want every Vrex ship in the galaxy. This insult cannot stand. Sir, another commander said nervously. The humans destroyed 37 of our best ships without taking any losses. Perhaps we should consider what? Kralthox roared. Surrender? Beg for mercy like those pathetic Kethani? Never. The Vrex Empire does not bow to anyone. But even as he spoke, Kralthox could see doubt in his officers' eyes. The battle at Helix Nebula had shaken them. For the first time in Vrex history, they had met an enemy that seemed truly dangerous. The humans got lucky. Kralthox continued. They set a trap and caught Thakkalon off guard. But they cannot prepare for a full fleet assault. We will bring so many ships that their tricks will not matter. On Earth, President Eugene Lee was meeting with her top advisors in the underground command center. The reports from across the galaxy were even better than they had hoped. Ma'am, said Admiral Taemin Park, intelligence indicates that the Vrex are gathering their entire fleet for an assault on human space. We estimate they'll have over 1,000 ships. Are our defenses ready? The president asked. More than ready. They still have no idea what our real military capabilities are. They've only seen our disguised ships and hidden platforms. They have no concept of what we've really been building for the past 20 years. President Lee nodded. What about civilian casualties on alien worlds? Approximately 40,000 dead so far from lack of medical supplies, reported General Kwan, mostly on worlds that were heavily dependent on human technology. The president's face showed no emotion, but inside she felt a twinge of regret. She had not wanted innocent aliens to die, but their governments had made the choice to threaten humanity. The consequences were not her responsibility. "Any change in our diplomatic status?" she asked. "No, ma'am. We're still only communicating with the Zephyrians, Christek, and Outer Rim colonies. Everyone else is being completely ignored." "Good. Maintain the silent protocol until further notice." Across human space, the protocol was being maintained perfectly. Human ships continued their normal activities, treating the galaxy's chaos as if it were happening in another universe. They traded with friendly species, explored new worlds, and built their colonies exactly as they had planned. Ambassador Jinna Yoon had come out of retirement to serve as humanity's unofficial messenger to the neutral species. She was an elderly woman with kind eyes and a gentle voice, but her words carried the full authority of Earth's government. "The humans are not angry," she explained to a gathering of neutral ambassadors on the trading station New Geneva. "Anger implies that we care about what you think of us. We are simply disappointed. But surely there must be some way to restore relations," pleaded the Zephyrian ambassador. "The galaxy is falling apart." "The galaxy chose its path when it delivered an ultimatum to Earth," Jinna replied calmly. "We offered friendship for 20 years. We were patient with your prejudices, tolerant of your demands, willing to compromise on issues that mattered to us. In return, we were told to submit or face destruction." She paused and looked around the room at the worried alien faces. "You made your choice. Now you live with the consequences." "But the innocent people who are dying," began the Christek representative, "are the responsibility of their governments," Jinna said firmly. "Every species in this galaxy had the same choice: work with humanity or work against us. Those who chose to work against us are now discovering what that means." The meeting ended in silence. The neutral species had hoped that humanity might show mercy, might be willing to negotiate. Instead, they had learned that humans could be as cold and unforgiving as they were patient and generous. Back on Earth, President Lee was preparing for the next phase of the crisis. Intelligence reports indicated that the Vrex fleet would reach human space within days. The largest military fleet in galactic history gathered at the edge of human space. 1,047 Vrex warships, each one the size of a city, each one carrying enough firepower to crack open a moon. Supreme Commander Kralthok stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Fury, and felt the satisfaction of impending victory. "All ships report ready for attack," announced his communications officer. "Excellent," Kralthok replied. "Today we will show the galaxy what happens to species that dare to defy the Vrex Empire." But something was bothering him. His sensors showed human ships throughout the system, just as intelligence had predicted. Cargo vessels, research ships, exploration craft, all the targets he had expected. What worried him was that they were not running away. "Sir," his sensor operator called out, "the human ships are maintaining their normal patrol patterns. They don't seem to have noticed our arrival." Kralthok frowned. "How is that possible? We have over 1,000 ships. We should be visible from halfway across the galaxy." "Perhaps their sensors are not as advanced as we thought," suggested his tactical officer. It was possible, but Kralthok did not like it. The humans at Helix Nebula had shown technology far beyond what anyone had expected. Why would their sensor technology be primitive when their weapons were so advanced? Fleet Admiral Kyung Soo-ha was watching the Vrex fleet from the bridge of his flagship, the Inshan's Resolve. To alien observers, his ship looked like a large cargo vessel, perhaps converted for use as a command ship. In reality, it was the most advanced warship humanity had ever built. "Admiral," his tactical officer reported, "the Vrex fleet has moved into attack formation. All hidden assets are in position and ready." Admiral Ha nodded. He was a short man with gray hair and calm eyes, someone who looked more like a grandfather than a military commander. But he had been planning for this moment for his entire career. "Any word from the civilian evacuation?" he asked. "All alien civilians have been moved to safety, sir. The refugee facilities are fully operational." This was the part of the plan that the aliens would never understand. While they had been gathering their fleets for war, humanity had been building massive refugee centers throughout human space. They were designed to house millions of alien civilians whose governments had just committed them to a war they could not win. "Sir," the communications officer said, "we're receiving a transmission from the Vrex flagship. Put it through." Supreme Commander Kralthox appeared on the main screen, his red scales gleaming in the light of his ship's bridge. "Human," he said in the harsh Vrex language. "I am Supreme Commander Kralthox of the Vrex Empire. You will surrender immediately or face total destruction." Admiral Ha looked at the alien commander with mild interest. "I'm sorry, but I don't understand what you're talking about. Are you perhaps lost?" Kralthox's yellow eyes blazed with anger. "Do not play games with me. You can see my fleet, 1,000 ships of the mighty Vrex Empire." "I'm afraid I only see empty space," Admiral Ha replied politely. "Perhaps you should check your navigation systems." The truth was that Admiral Ha could see the Vrex fleet perfectly, but according to the silent protocol, alien ships simply did not exist. As far as humanity was concerned, the Vrex were talking to themselves in empty space. "This is your final warning," Kralthox roared. "Surrender or die." "I'm sorry," Admiral Ha said, "but I really cannot see anyone to surrender to. If you'll excuse me, I have work to do." He cut the transmission, leaving Kralthox staring at a blank screen. On the Vrex flagship, the alien commander was shaking with rage. "They dare to mock the Vrex Empire. All ships, open fire! Destroy them all!" The Vrex fleet erupted in flame and energy as 1,000 ships fired at once. The combined firepower was enough to sterilize an entire world. All of it focused on the small human fleet scattered throughout the system. But once again, the human ships were not where they appeared to be. As soon as the Vrex opened fire, space around them began to change. What had looked like empty vacuum was suddenly filled with massive human warships, uncloaking from stealth systems that the aliens had never detected. Asteroids revealed themselves to be disguised weapons platforms. Space stations that had appeared to be simple research facilities transformed into military fortresses. "Impossible," Kralthox whispered as his sensors showed him the truth. The humans had not just hidden a few ships, they had hidden an entire fleet. Hundreds of vessels, each one larger and more advanced than anything in the Vrex arsenal. Admiral Ha's voice came over the communication channels, calm and polite as always. "Attention, Vrex vessels. You are trespassing in human space and have opened fire on civilian ships. This will be your only warning. Leave immediately or face the consequences." "Never," Kralthox screamed. "All ships, attack! Show these humans the power of the Vrex Empire." The battle that followed was not really a battle at all. It was a demonstration. The humans had spent 20 years studying every aspect of Vrex military doctrine. They knew exactly how the aliens would attack, how they would maneuver, how they would try to escape when things went wrong. Every possible tactic had been anticipated and countered. Captain Yunji Cho commanded one of the human destroyers, a ship called the Daegu Lightning. Her crew had trained for this exact scenario hundreds of times in simulations. Now they put their training to work with deadly efficiency. "Target the command ship," she ordered. "Disable their weapons but leave their communication systems intact. I want them to see everything that happens next." The Daegu Lightning moved through the Vrex formation like a dancer, too fast for the alien weapons to track, too agile for their targeting systems to predict. When it fired, entire sections of Vrex ships simply vanished, cut apart by weapons that used principles the aliens did not understand. Across the battlefield, the same scene was playing out again and again. Human ships that moved like fighters despite their size. Weapons that could cut through the heaviest armor like it was paper. Defensive systems that made the aliens' most powerful guns completely useless. But the most terrifying thing was the humans' precision. They were not trying to kill everyone on the Vrex ships. Instead, they were surgically destroying weapons, engines, and life support systems while leaving the crews alive to watch their fleet die around them. "This is impossible," Kralthox screamed as his flagship shuddered under human fire. "No species advances this quickly. You were primitives when we first met." Admiral Ha's voice came back, still calm and patient. "We were never primitives, Commander. We were students, and you have been our teachers." "What do you mean?" "Every battle you have fought for the past 20 years we have studied. Every tactic you have used we have analyzed. Every weakness you have shown we have noted. We know you better than you know yourselves." As if to prove his point, human ships began targeting specific systems on Vrex vessels with impossible accuracy. They knew exactly where the command centers were located, where the ammunition was stored, where the life support systems could be disabled without killing the crew. How? Krelthox demanded. How do you know so much about our ships? Because you told us, Admiral Ha replied. Every diplomatic meeting, every cultural exchange, every trade negotiation, our people were watching, learning, recording. You thought we were seeking friendship. We were gathering intelligence. The battle lasted 43 minutes. When it was over, the mighty Vrex fleet was floating dead in space. Not destroyed, but completely disabled. 1,000 ships reduced to helpless hulks, their crews alive but powerless. Admiral Ha opened a channel to broadcast to the entire galaxy. His words would be heard on every world by every species in every language. People of the galaxy, he began. Today you have witnessed the price of threatening humanity. For 20 years we offered you friendship. We sought peace, cooperation, and mutual understanding. In return we were given an ultimatum: submit or face destruction. He paused, letting his words sink in. We chose a third option. We chose to end the threat. On 1,000 disabled Vrex ships, alien crews listened in horror as the human admiral continued. But we are not conquerors. We are not killers. Even now, as your fleets lie broken before us, we are preparing to save the lives that your governments have endangered. As if summoned by his words, massive human hospital ships began appearing throughout the system. They moved toward the disabled Vrex vessels, ready to provide medical aid and evacuation services. The war your leaders declared is over, Admiral Ha announced. It lasted less than an hour. Your fleets are destroyed. Your governments have fallen. Your people are dying because they cannot get the supplies and services that only humanity can provide. President Soo-Jin Park, who had succeeded President Lee just months before, appeared on screens across the galaxy. She was a small woman with bright eyes and a voice that carried absolute authority. The age of negotiation is over, she declared. For too long, the galaxy has been ruled by those who mistake patience for weakness, kindness for vulnerability. Today that ends. She looked directly into the camera, speaking to every alien who was watching. Humanity will no longer negotiate with those who threaten our existence. We will no longer compromise with those who seek to control us. We will no longer tolerate governments that treat their own people as expendable in pursuit of power.